Welcome back to the Marvel Movie Minute, a daily podcast in which we assemble to explore the films of the Marvel Cinematic Universe 1 minute at a time. In this, our 6th season, we are looking at the Avengers. I'm Andy Nelson from the Next Real Film Podcast.
And I'm Pete Wright. Everybody out of the tunnel!
Today we are talking about Minute 9, which begins with Team Loki on the loading dock and ends with Havoc in the tunnels. Back in the show, we have Tommy Metz III. Hello, Tommy.
Hi, guys. It's such a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me. Assemble.
Well, we're thrilled to have you part of our team assembling with us. Mm-hmm. All right, so we've got Team Loki. They are bailing on the Tesseract chamber room, and they head out onto the loading dock. We've talked about this briefly when we saw Maria Hill out here earlier. This is filmed at the Albuquerque Convention Center where they're filming this. So
interesting.
Now I have a question, because we see Loki, we see Eric Selvig, we see Clint Barton. They all walk out, and the agent, the S.H.I.E.L.D. agent that Loki had turned, they all walk out together. Once we get out to the loading dock, suddenly it's Loki and Selvig and Barton, and the agent somehow disappeared. I'm not exactly sure what happened to him.
Okay, this is what's interesting, because he crosses at second, 8, somewhere like that. He crosses in front of camera.
Yeah, right in front of Maria Hill.
At second 7.
We're just so busy looking at Maria Hill. Right.
Yeah.
And then he's in a car because he follows them immediately afterward.
Right.
It's shot in there are a lot of things about this film that work well. But I had some issues with some blocking in the last scene, and I continue having issues with the blocking in this scene, because that fourth person, we should know that he is with them as they come out. And that one quick shot we have, we're kind of focused on Maria Hill. But also I have issues with the blocking, because Clint Barton, we see them walking out. We barely see Maria Hill out of the corner of her eye, off the edge of frame, coming out of another room with another S.H.I.E.L.D. agent. And Barton starts talking to her, but when he does, we're now looking at his back. And then we cut to her standing there. It's shot and cut together in such a strange way that it's very difficult to get a sense as to who's here, who's having a conversation with whom. And we get all these characters out onto the loading dock, but I don't get a good sense of the space and who's here. I don't know, maybe it's just me, and maybe this is the curse of the movie by minute format. But I really, as I was looking at this sequence, I was really struggling to figure out why am I having such a hard time tracking who's here and where they are. Is that just me, or did either of you have that issue?
Yeah, I did a little bit.
Totally
just me, or totally?
Yeah, I'm just going to leave you hanging, thinking that you're alone.
Oh, yeah, you didn't answer the question. Totally, and both of our screens go black.
Okay.
No, you're not wrong. And one of the things, there is some hurry up and go in certain sequences when it's almost like continuity editing, but right in front of your face. Like, we just need to get these 5. We have too many people, and we need to get them over here. And I couldn't understand why it was happening until I remembered what I had forgotten, which is at, 11 minutes and 48 seconds. The opening title. This is all happening before the opening title. And I wonder whether it was Whedon, the producers, or something saying, we've got to slam on the gas. Like, all of this, you have 19 people in every scene. You need to get them in the tunnel. You need to get them going, just because we're just starting, and you've had us staring at blue stuff. I wonder if maybe that's a part of it, because I'm an enormous fan of starting a title sequence really late. I think that's being used extremely powerfully. My favorite example of that was the Netflix show, The OA, where at one point they started one of their... did you guys watch The OA?
Yeah.
No, never did.
There's one episode where the opening title comes in 43 minutes into an episode.
Wow.
And then there's just 8 other minutes in the episode. And it's so weird and powerful and cool. I like how we're using opening titles to sort of... Midsommar did it brilliantly. Smile actually literally copies Midsommar in their step-by-step of their... and setting the entire movie up, then doing this. I'm a big fan of it. I'm sorry, but I just wonder if... because unlike those other movies that I meant, there's a lot of chaotic stuff and a ton of people in this. And I wonder if maybe they just wanted to cut the fat. Sorry, I just said all that with way too many words.
No,
it's great. I mean, we just saw Babylon. Babylon's like hold my beer for the
Right,
a lot of movie happens before the opening slam title hits, and I think that's part of it. But this to me, I'm sure at this point there was some conversation about moving us along to the title and get us into the body of the movie. But this first 26 seconds of this minute, it reflects as clumsy cutting to me. Every single shot, it felt to me like they did 300 takes and took a cut from each one and put them all in this. Like, it just feels like things are out of order when you stop and watch it. Like, movement doesn't lead to the next natural movement, to my eye. And so I struggle with it. What we need to get Maria Hill to draw her gun seems to be like too much visual work. And it comes out as messy in this first minute. To your point, Andy, the curse of the movie by minute format, of course, but
right.
It's messy.
But I would imagine, like, watching this without watching it in the movie by minute format, like a regular audience member may just go, well, there was a lot of stuff going on. I wasn't exactly sure, but somehow, like, there's that mental sense of confusion. But obviously, you're just watching a film without stopping, as like we are, and so it's okay because next thing you know, you're in a tunnel shootout and the whole place is getting blown up. So you're already into the story, and they've probably already forgotten that I was confused at that early in the film.
Very much to that point, I watched the movie straight through, then went back and reminded myself what 8 and 9 were, and I didn't have this problem.
Yeah, right.
The first time I watched it, I don't even remember if it was a hiccup. I did not remember it because I already had thoughts about the cave chase. So yeah, probably
sure.
And I like that, Pete, that your conjecture is they filmed too much and wanted to use too much of the angles. I always, because of the budget level that I come from, when I see things like this, I'm always like, they underfilmed it and they're fudging it. They didn't get what they needed, and so they're just sort of like, person, thing here, and now let's get to something. Because I've had to do that before. Yeah, where they didn't get it.
Yep.
They thought they did, they didn't get it, and so you sort of have to make it up as much as you can.
Sure. More bodies rolling on concrete.
Right. Yeah. And a lot of times they shoot a scene to play longer, like there might have been cutaways of that SHIELD agent walking to his car and hopping in addition to all of this. And they're like, and to your point, Tommy, maybe the producer's like, we just need to make this move a little faster. And they're like, he's never going to be somebody people remember. Let's just cut those out. And it'll play okay.
But then he's cemented in some of those shots that make that feel more smooth, and then it just sort of becomes a tightrope act. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
I love that stuff.
Yeah. How does the exchange between Maria Hill and Clint Barton work for you two? Do you buy that, like, she's carrying some suspicions, and the way that Clint Barton kind of reacts to her? Do you buy that there's this sense between them, like he's covering something up, i.e. this mystery man that he's with?
I do, immediately, because we already know that she's not a red shirt, because she's already had an argument with Fury where she is skeptical about how things are going down. Like, we already know she's in a position of some authority to be able to agree/disagree with the boss. And
well, yes, to your point, though, let's remember, she has still not been introduced in the movie. We still don't know who she is until just about right after this.
Is this the first time that we're meeting this character?
It is the first time.
Well, it's the second time.
But this movie is the first time.
In this film, this movie is the first time.
This movie is the first time. Oh, wow. Yeah. Okay. See, I also don't remember that stuff.
And she has not been called out by name yet.
Yeah, she hasn't been called out by name yet. She's just the person who got off the helicopter with Fury. Again, a position of power. Like, who else is flying with Fury besides the pilot and people who are important enough to fly with Fury? And so, here we have, like, when she walks out, her head immediately turns and says, why are you walking with this guy who's dressed like that? That is a thing that doesn't belong. And so I think it's kind of an easy pick to have her skeptical and be able to respond quickly when she hears from Fury and he starts yelling, Hill, Hill.
Well, it's the first time that her name is mentioned in the film when he says Hill. So suddenly we know. Now, the conversation, the other issue I have here is I found the lines, like, I didn't fully hear what the actors were saying, and I don't know if it's the sound mix or what, until I kind of read the script. I'm like, oh, okay, that's what they're saying here. Because she says to Clint Barton, she says, who's that? Indicating Loki. And Barton says, didn't tell me.
Oh, that's what he says. Oh.
Yeah, he says, didn't tell me. And then Fury calls over the radio, Hill, do you copy? Barton has turned, another thing that I never heard. And then he says, get the Tesseract, shut them down. And so I don't know. That was another thing going on with this sequence. Again, it's propulsive. We're moving forward. I understand the things that are playing, even if I don't fully understand the lines. But once I understand the lines, I'm like, oh, okay, there's actually, there is more happening here. I was able to piece it together without having all of those things spelled out for me, I guess. And I guess to that extent, the action sequence works, right? I didn't need to know what they're saying. But I just, as I read the script and I realized what they're saying, I'm like, oh, I wish I kind of had been able to hear that better.
Sure.
I have a confession that I kind of don't want to tell both of you guys in particular, but I'm one of those people now in my advancing age. I don't watch movies at home anymore without the subtitles on.
Oh, you do?
Which
That's
is
fun.
Anathema to so many people I know, but
sure.
I kind of have to. And so, unless I have headphones on. And so I never, like this was never a question because I literally read the script as they were saying it. I never had trouble with it. And so that when it says Barton's turned and she has her reaction and it was so fast, it all just felt very, very natural to me.
Gotcha. Well, I mean, it is interesting how society is really making a switch with that. And I don't know if it's because of phones and people watching stuff so quietly now, but like my kids watch stuff with subtitles on all the time. And then when we're doing like a family movie night or something, they really, actively push to have the subtitles on just because it's more of a sense of ease and comfort, I suppose, than always necessarily needing it.
Yeah.
But they really like it. And even my wife has gotten to a point where she prefers having that on. And I still struggle when it's English and I'm reading English subtitles because I find myself just reading along with the movie more than I do like watching the image on the screen. And I feel like I'm losing some of the sense of what the director and the performers are doing. But I do think it's a thing though. So I don't judge you for it.
I miss little words sometimes. And I think it's because I spend all day wearing headphones and my ears are tired. And having subtitles helps, but I absolutely get it. I get that you're absolutely right. And I think this movie is easier because I've seen it so many times. And it's kind of refreshing to actually hear what they're actually saying, So,
yeah.
Anyhow, that's enough, old Pete.
Eh? All right. Now, I kind of chuckle. We have this moment as we have this exchange between Hill and Barton where suddenly we have some debris falling from the ceiling. It's the only time it happens. And I chuckle every time it happens because it seems so heavy, like the fact that suddenly there's a whole lot of debris falling as a reminder of what's happening here. And it just, I don't know, it seems a little like there are just grips off screen just shaking stuff down onto them. And it does, it just, the whole thing feels a little fakey. Am I the only one? I feel like you're both chuckling, so you agree with me here.
It looks literally fake to me. It doesn't even look like there's real stuff coming down. It looks like to me, and this is just a conspiracy theory, the thing that we've already brought up, especially last minute, the Tesseract and the blue stuff is not really picking up speed. It was as violent as it was before. That one shot of Fury going, Tesseract, get the Tesseract. You do see like something being sucked up into it. But otherwise, it's kind of business as usual. And so I kind of feel like they needed to start upping the violence of this because this all leads to a Roland Emmerich shot of one car right in front of a huge sinkhole. You know what I mean? Just right behind them, the old Roland Emmerich special. And so I just wonder if they needed to be like, yeah, I mean, it's either shaky cam or we CGI it a couple like pebbles going because nothing's really going on because it's also not in their faces. Colby doesn't seem to be reacting like, oh no, what's going on? Barton can't because he's in army mode and creepy Mick get in the back of the truck just seems to be like, what's a Jeep? And so I just wonder if they needed to like later like add that in. Does it look fake if you're watching it or does it look real? Either way, it's not impressive and it seems almost like an afterthought of we're not filming this like the walls are coming down and the walls are about to come down.
I feel like a rube here. Where is it? Where is this thing that you're talking about?
It's right when Barton responds to Hill saying, "Didn't tell me." It's right around second 11, 12, 13 in this minute. And you just see a little bit of debris. Honestly, there's so little debris falling. I feel like it largely is the sound effect paired with it that makes it sound that much grander.
I get it. Yeah. I just watched it.
Yeah, it's not fake, but it's just like some crumbs, like some pebbles being dropped.
It's like the cameraman was eating, or his focus puller was eating over the lens. Yeah. They're like, oh, crap, let's just use it.
Yeah. No, Billy, keep that ding-dong wrapper. You're good. Use the ding-dong.
Now, the other question I have here, and I don't know if I understand, because Loki seemed relatively healthy this whole time. He came through the portal. He seemed kind of fine, other than being really sweaty. But once he kind of gets into the back of the truck, he kind of stumbles into the back of the truck.
He looks really weird. That's what I meant by creepy McGets in the back. Like he's holding on to it, and yeah.
And he's like having a hard time breathing. And when he's looking around, like he seems like incredibly weakened. And I'm like, is there something I missed that was going on with Loki through all this? And the script doesn't have anything like he had been affected by the Tesseract transporter or whatever. And so I don't know. I didn't really understand what they were doing or what the direction was for Tom Hiddleston to kind of play it this way.
I definitely noticed that one.
I think you guys are reading too far into it because to me, it just read like, this is Hiddleston playing Loki low-key. You see what I did there?
But look at the way he gets into the truck, though, right around second 9. Like, he practically collapses into it.
It's so weird.
And then the next shot of him at about 13, like, he's like struggling to breathe, and he's gripping the railing of the truck, like, so hard as he's just like, I don't know. It seems like
he doesn't seem in control.
I don't see it. I'm watching it, and it just feels like he tripped a little bit. But there's a bunch of boxes back there, and he's holding it. He's trying to be low key. But I feel like I have a different problem with it, though. Right? Like I have a different problem than you guys do. My problem is, why the hell is he trying to play low key anyway? Like he has just come in and destroyed this cavern with our boss level of Nick Fury, and now he's walking around with some red shirts walking the hall, and Maria Hill, who's at best a sub boss. And why isn't he just like blasting away at stuff? And knocking people down himself, like that's and brainwashing more people. Yeah, that's my problem with it. So maybe he has a little cough. Maybe he's got some breathing stuff going on, but he still is holding the Mind Stone.
He's still holding the minds, but he looks drained to me. I go with Andy as if he can't. He's sort of like hunkering down, and then he's waiting for his next big chow at the car.
Yeah.
Well, and I guess, okay, if I were to devil's advocate myself, there is a scene right around second 2, right at the end where we have Suited Agent who actually puts his hand lovingly on Loki's lower back.
Oh, on his back.
Which is like, Are you okay, bud? Are you okay? Don't worry, it's okay. You feel like he's going to rub it, but it cuts away too fast.
It does.
I think they cut out something where he outdid himself.
Well, we did see in the last set of minutes when they first
he's very sweaty.
When they first attack him, he gets hit in the face a number of times with some bullets, and you see the streaks of like the bullet tracks across his face, and they heal, and it's all over the course of like 3 or 4 frames. It's an incredibly fast effect.
Oh wow!
But I do wonder if there's a sense of him having used a lot of energy,
right,
and having kind of a hard time, and it's never been clearly defined, though.
Right.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
So there's a universe in which I agree wholly with you both.
Oh, we're going multiversal on this show already. The other Pete. We have to see if we can get him out to come out and talk about
something somewhere every once in a while. that Michelle Yeoh movie.
Every once in a while. Okay, so, now that we have this, we have the little, the shooting going on between Barton and Hill. She goes and hides, and they start driving away.
Is Hawkeye always left-handed?
It's a good question.
When he shoots the gun, isn't he?
He was shooting it with his,
He shoots with his left hand. Yeah.
I thought he was shooting with his right hand in the...
let's see together.
Minute. Was that minute 6 6.
Do you copy?
It was 8, right? Wasn't it? Oh, no, it was 7.
I was jumping back to minute 6 when he first...
That's his left hand. That's his left hand.
When he crouches down...
The freeze frame is right at 22.
Yeah, in minute 6.
Oh my God, please don't let me get this wrong. I'm looking right at it. It's got to be his left hand.
I'm looking at minute 6. He's left hand holding the gun, right hand steadying his readying it. So, yeah, at minute 6, he's left-handed too.
Okay. Cool.
So, yeah, there you go.
I guess that's not interesting to anyone, except that I don't see a lot of left-handed shooters in this economy.
Okay, so they take off. Now they're in a Hummer H3T.
Cool.
That's the Hummer that Clint is driving.
That's Tom's car.
Is that Tom's car? Look at that. Do you play Hawkeye driving sometimes?
I do. No, Pete mispronounces the word Mazda.
I can
the
see
other
that.
manliest car.
Maria hops into a Jeep J8 and she pursues. Now, the agent, we see the Hummer pull out, and immediately behind it is the Acura TL. Of course, there's got to be an Acura because of their deal, but that's the one that the fourth agent has hopped into. So we see them pull out their Hummer, and the agent pulls out and goes up that ramp immediately behind them. So that car behind them is their agent, the fourth one that had been turned. So all 4 of them are now on the road.
Okay.
Maria Hill hops in, and to your point, Tommy, when we see Fury kind of running from the Tesseract energy, we do see it sucking random tables and things up into its vortex, which always cracks me up when we get that. But so now Hill is pursuing.
That's right, because does that mean in that other universe they're like tables? Like, are they being besieged by office equipment?
Well, that's probably what the other needed. And Thanos says, all I have is this stinking throne. I could use some tables and some other things around here.
An end table and maybe a lamp.
Yeah.
So they're just sucking it up. Of course, they can't plug it in anywhere, but they'll figure that out.
That's all Thanos is trying to do is just hoover intergalactic Ikeas all over the place.
All right, so now we get into the tunnel. This is a new location. We're finally into our 4th location that makes up this entire SHIELD complex. This location, these tunnels, are actually at a place called Creekside Mushroom Farm outside of Worthington, Pennsylvania. I saw Pennsylvania, I saw tunnels. I immediately got excited thinking, oh, are these the tunnels that they used in Day of the Dead, the George Romero film?
Oh.
Alas, they are not. Those ones were old mine shafts film that they used outside of Wampum, Pennsylvania, but both of them are kind of outside of Pittsburgh. This place is a mushroom farm, and this was on their website. They bill themselves as the world's largest mushroom growing facility and the only underground mushroom farm in the United States. The flavorful fungi grow 300 feet below ground in a former limestone mine.
Huh.
Well, all right.
I find that fascinating, and it makes me wonder if all of these tunnels normally are full of like bins where they're growing mushrooms, and they actually had to clear all the mushrooms out so that they could film the movie here.
Huh.
I don't know why I find that so interesting, but I just the idea of tunnels full of mushrooms growing is such a strange thing.
I know they've done crazy things to make movies, but that seems like really just a horrible job.
Right.
To move this giant tunnel full of mushrooms. Where are we going to put the mushroom? That's just, it's like a PA.
And it's just like one PA. They're like, Steve, we're going to need this all cleared up.
Yeah.
Right.
Like how far is it? About 200-300
Here's your golf
yards.
cart.
Yeah.
Here's your incredibly small basket. Why are we doing this?
Got that sweet, sweet Marvel money for our mushroom farm. Yeah.
For the mushroom farm.
That's fascinating.
I think it's interesting. Now we're going into the tunnels here, which instantly makes me think of a movie with tunnel scenes that I think are fantastic, and I think the movie is fantastic. It's Sicario.
Yeah.
The tunnel pursuit in that is, of course, through the underground tunnels built by coyotes and stuff, drug smugglers under the Mexico-Arizona desert, and that was just a fantastic tunnel chase sequence. I'm trying to think of other movies with great tunnel sequences. What do you two? Can you two think of any?
iRobot? Does that count as a tunnel?
I can't remember the sequence in that you're talking about.
he's trapped under but it's like a great big tunnel. It's not like an underground, and then all the cars that are filled with iRobots that did not murder him show up, and then they all jump off and they start attacking his car, and it's kind of cool.
Oh, I remember that shot from the trailer when he's surrounded by them. They're all jumping on him.
The first Mission Impossible, helicopter chasing a train in a tunnel.
In a tunnel. That was
right,
good.
Right.
I guess
is it only vehicles that we're talking about? Because we just saw Barbarian, and the tunnels in that were horrifying.
Yep.
Oh, good tunnels. Yeah.
The Descent.
Yeah.
The Descent. Those are great tunnels.
I don't like thinking about that movie. That's too scary. Yeah.
I go to something like Empire Strikes Back, where, of course, their whole base on Hoth is in tunnels under the snow. Cloverfield. They
have their whole thing, and they go into the old subway tunnel, and the little baby clover monsters are there.
Oh, yes.
That's my impression of the little... It's pretty good.
Well, really, any tunnel, any subway scene, really, because then I go to Mimic, and those freaking terrifying giant roach creatures, like, those things were great. It terrified me in that movie.
Oh, Escape Room World Championship, the first subway in the sequel.
Yeah,
where they're on the train and it's electrical. It's electrocuted. They keep. Yeah, that was great.
Have you watched the other version yet, Pete? Get your act together.
Stop. Stop.
I need to watch them clearly.
Oh, this isn't funny, but Platoon.
Oh yeah.
When what's his name?
Casualties of War. Casualties of War is when he falls into them. Are they in Platoon? I don't think they go into the tunnels in Platoon.
Platoon, Willem Dafoe goes in, grabs a knife and a gun, and chases in a soldier through a tunnel.
Right.
And ends up shooting him, and it's terrifying.
Casualties of War, it's where the soldier falls partway through the ground, and you see the guy crawling up toward him, to slit his belly or something. Yeah, that one. Oof. And then just other war ones like 1917. Like that had some great sequences where they're running through the tunnels there.
Good list of tunnels, guys.
All right, so clearly...
Tunnels are terrible. Yep.
Quite a lot of great movies with tunnels. What was the Sylvester Stallone one where they're in the tunnel under the... New York, under the river, crossing over, and like the Daylight. Yeah. Which reminds me also of The Stand. There's another terrifying sequence. The book has... Yeah. All right.
Paris Jetem. They're all over the place. All right. I just wanted to pick one that wasn't. I'm looking at my list.
There is that Catacombs Paris movie where they go into the catacombs and
So Above, So Below.
And So Above, So Below. That's absolutely right. The Tunnel. I never actually saw it, but that's a movie that has the name Tunnel in it.
So really, there are a lot of options.
You guys, The Great Escape. Okay.
That's a really tiny tunnel.
Last Crusade.
Tiny tunnel.
Last Crusade.
Last Crusade.
Marks the
tunnel
spot.
In the last.
X marks the spot.
Yes.
Maybe Three Kings, when they go into all of the bunkers in Three Kings and they find all of those hidden rooms and all the riches and then the torture chambers. Do you remember those?
Yeah.
I don't know if those bad. Count. Okay, the end.
Yeah.
All right.
No more tunnels.
All right, so I want to talk about a little bit of the logistics of the chase because this is something that will continue as this whole thing goes on the next minute or so. So we have Clint driving the Hummer. Behind them, we have this Acura. Now, there are already a lot of vehicles in the tunnel, as we see very shortly, because, as we may recall, Fury had given Coulson the order to evacuate everybody. So we see a lot of army vehicles rolling out. And very shortly into this chase, we see these vehicles driving around all of these military vehicles that are kind of slow rolling through the tunnels. And then that's when we see Loki realize that they're being followed. I don't understand the layout of this tunnel. Clint's vehicle and the Acura following them go up onto some side ramp thing that is, over on one side, and it's kind of separated by these barriers. And then they're all shooting at each other. And then Loki decides, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to blast my shield agent that's following me. I'm going to blast his car and flip it to block the tunnel. Instead of maybe blocking the bad guy's car, or the bad guy, the normal shield agent's car, and using it to block the tunnel. How does that logic work for you of killing his own guy to block the tunnel?
It works for me because it's straight up Loki.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's the thing right in front of him, and why not? And it's it's a win-win for him.
Okay.
So it didn't bother me. But I also didn't really pause and think about, oh, wait, that's his own guy. Should he have gone to that weird... Because it's like the setup, it's the Indiana Jones chase setups, where at some point one path becomes two parallel paths, and one's usually a little bit higher than the other.
Yes.
And they're trying to go back and forth for each other. It didn't bother me, especially because of his creepy little Loki hee-hee grin that he does when he shoots. He's like,
if only he went hee-hee.
Yeah, he's constantly like, I'm a little stinker. One thing I did want to bring up real quick is I really like the physicality that he does when he shoots blue things. I don't care about blue things coming out of stuff, but it's kind of reminiscent of the Eecha of the original Dune movie.
Yeah.
It's neat. It's like it's a reverse punch, but you can see he's like, it's taking physical power from him to do it. It's the opposite of like Harry Potter just sticking out a stick and going Zuba-de-dango, which is always, which never impressed me, because I can just imagine on set a bunch of people pointing sticks at each other, saying something, and then half of them go, and drop the stick. This feels like I could see, the thing coming, and I really liked that.
Right.
So yeah, sorry, I answered a different question. But yeah.
Well, no, but I mean, I think I do. Well, you answered the question and then you just kind of continued expounding about it. And I think your point about Loki is really interesting, because I like that physicality where he really seems like it's almost like a very heavy automatic weapon that has a big kick. And every time he kind of blasts, you can really see Tom Hiddleston kind of really throwing it into the performance as far as throwing himself back. And now, as I watch that, maybe it's the fact that he's using this scepter in this way that is draining his energy.
I think he's kicking his own ass. It's like he's really in a physical fight, even though his punches are blue lasers. I like that idea.
Well, it'd make it make sense for me.
To make him tired. The only other thing that I wanted to point out is when they're on their Indiana Jones parallel things, there's this minor like guardrail bar. It's not like a wall in between them. It's just a pole every like 20 yards or something like that. And I know that you have to justify the bullets, but the amount, there's the good guys are shooting a 45 and they go bang, bang, bang. Each one hits one of the side poles. Do you know how harder of a shot that is than not hitting a guardrail when you're going so fast instead of hitting nothing or a cave wall? That guy is the best trick shot in the world. Like if they get invaded by guardrails, he is Captain America. Every shot has
guardrail.
Or just wait. We'll wait for phase 6 for the guardrail invasion.
And like a spark. And I can't imagine that guy just being like, come on! It's just, I think that's always funny. When whoever's in charge of that feels the need to justify every bullet, and the only thing in their way is the smallest thing in the entire world. Yeah.
Right. Because the effects team has to go in and put all the little squibs on all those things to, the little detonators and everything. So, yeah, it's like they just needed to put him on somewhere, just like, well, hey, let's just put him here.
But that just makes that guy so incredibly good at being terrible. He's the opposite of Andy Oakley. Yeah.
Oh my God, you can just hear him just like, where was I at the guardrail booth at the carnival last weekend?
Why isn't he in the Olympics? Why is he in S.H.I.E.L.D.? There's a skill set for that he is amazing at. Yeah.
Oh man. That is so true. So true. Yeah. This poor guy, well, obviously he's been waylaid anyway, because now he's got a car in front of him and they've had to stop. And that's where this minute ends, sadly. But Tommy, it has been a fun week, or fun couple days, I should say, talking to you about this. And we certainly hope down the road, you think there might be some credits in your future.
Oh, I'm going to start reading now. I'm excited. But I watched this whole movie, and so I feel better to talk about it. Like, I have other points that don't need to be made now that would be better saved for credit land and stuff. But I really did enjoy this movie. And it had a lot of Whedonisms, a lot of Notaro things that I really enjoyed, a lot of turns of phrases and stuff. And the way that this movie handles such an incredibly vast amount of characters, but gives them all, doesn't short thrift any of them, or short, is that a phrase? Short change?
Yeah.
Any of them is remarkable. I can't imagine how to do it. And it does it in a way that seems effortless and not padded. So
we talked about that the other day with Kathy Campbell, who was on before you, just the fact that this was a period when studios were kind of skeptical about the idea of something like this working. Like we were talking about the examples like, the Batman films where they kept putting more villains and more heroes in,
people, right.
Or the Spider-Man films where they kept adding more villains and more heroes. And people were just like, God, it's just too much. Like the story is getting so overloaded with all of these things that you're just not giving enough time to. It's not working. And here they are trying to build this entire phase toward this. And you can see why people were a little skeptical about them being able to pull this off.
Yeah. And it feels like a magic trick, a creative magic trick that they really pulled off, which is really exciting to see.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
So thank you for bringing me back into the fold to do this. This was a lot of fun.
Well, we had a great time. We'll be back tomorrow. We have Justin Yeager joining us tomorrow to talk about Minute 10. Yeah, good old JJ. So it should be fun. And so we'll be back for that. And Pete, thanks as always.
I'm so excited. Tomorrow we get to see what it's like when an Audi becomes an innie.
Until next time, true believers.
Marvel Movie Minute is a production of TruStory FM, engineering by Andy Nelson. This season's music is Message to the World by Anthony Vega, and this season's show art is by Winston Yabo. Find the show at TruStory.fm. If your podcast app allows ratings and reviews, please consider doing that for our show.